Jerry Citarella here. Jerry Citarella Presents. I'm going to tell a story today that's really hard for me. There's a message at the end. It's not just telling a story to make you feel sorry for me or anything else. You'll get that in a minute. But there really is a message to this that I got that I want to share. And this is about educating, enlightening, and inspiring. So hopefully this can inspire some people. This is my cancer journey. And again, I'm not telling you this to go, oh, he had cancer, feel sorry for me. No, there's actually a lot to this that I learned and a lot that I think I can share. So in the end, again, I'm going to tell you something. So stick to the end. So let me tell you what happened. It was 2021, and I reached that age where you have to go get certain tests. You know, it's the test that no one wants to get. So I went in for my colonoscopy, and I went through it. No big deal. A great nap, I will tell you that. Whenever I take any medication that says may cause drowsiness, just know I'm sleeping for 3 days. So I really do well on that stuff. And I slept well, and I got home after my daughter picked me up, actually, and that's part of the story as well. But I got home and I took a nap, and I remember waking up and thinking something happened. It was just, I had this memory of something serious, and I had a piece of paper in my pocket, and I pulled it out, and I looked at it, and it said cancer, and a bunch of other words that I couldn't even understand at the time, but basically, the way I found out that I had cancer was a piece of paper in my pocket after I woke up from a 2 or 3 hour nap. And I thought, oh my gosh, why didn't the doctor tell me this? Now, it was already past hours, so I couldn't even call. So I literally had to wait till the next day to see what the heck was going on. But I could remember, like I said, something serious, a discussion in the operating room before I left. So obviously I wake up the next morning, first call I make is to the doctor. He's not available. I call back later and I talked to him, and he said, oh my gosh, I talked to you about this yesterday. I thought you understood me. And I said, I had no clue what's going on. So he explained to me that I had rectal cancer, colon cancer, or what do you call it? Intestinal cancer, but technically rectal cancer. And he said it looks very bad, and he wanted me to come in and talk to him. So I did that. And I'm going to fast forward as much as I can to get to the, I don't want to call it the good stuff, but the more important stuff. So I went in there, and if you're familiar with colonoscopy, up the rectum. This is going to be pretty informative. It's an image. It's basically like literally putting a little camera up there. So it's a snapshot, it's a photo, it's a picture. And in that image, what I had looked pretty bad. So he didn't say any details. He just said, you need to see somebody. And he was going to give me some numbers of some oncologists. I said, I actually know somebody. What's ironic about all this is I've actually I served on the board of the American Cancer Society for our local chapter for, I don't know, a decade. I was a big sponsor and a big volunteer for Relay for Life, which is one of their biggest fundraisers. I've spoken on behalf of cancer. I've spoken at events with 3,000 or 4,000 people. And when I found that out, I went, this isn't fair. I've done so much. But at the same time, I know how much money we've raised over the years. I know the research. I know, you know, when someone told you you had cancer 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago, it was a goodbye. Now it's a what do we do? And the chances are better. So I didn't freak out. I listened, and I heard what he said, and he said it's bad. And I just thought, okay, I'm going to deal with this. So fortunately I called, and I won't give the doctor's name. It doesn't matter. But I called the doctor that I knew I used to serve on the board with. And I said, this is Jerry Citarella. Can you tell so-and-so doctor that I need to talk to him as soon as possible. I need to come see him. And it was wonderful. I got a call back in about an hour, and he's the head of oncology where I live, and he's top guy. And he said, hey, this is, you know, and I went, okay, remember who I am? He goes, of course I remember who you are. I hadn't seen him in probably 4 or 5 years. And I said, hey, it got me. I need to come in. And he said, well, when can you come in tomorrow? I said, well, when are you available? What times do you have? He says, that's not what I asked. He said, when can you come in tomorrow? And I thought, okay, we're off to a good start, and it's good to know people. So I told him what time I wanted to come in, and went in, and it ends up his head nurse, who I knew very well, who recently retired. I talked to her as well, just asked her some questions, and she showed up to support me. You know, so the first lesson in this is really the support you can get from people around you, and having a good network, and just, you know, don't want to say being a good person. I mean, I'm very fortunate in my life that I had people that immediately came out and wanted to help me. So I went in and saw him, and it was a very, very tough meeting. He looked at me and he said, "This is bad. I need you to know this is bad." And he said, potentially stage 3, stage 2, probably potentially stage 3. And then he started talking about aggressive treatments. And in that, he said, we're going to do some testing, a PET scan and this. And then he started talking about the treatments and we're going to do this. And he said, there's one that you won't lose your hair. And he's going there. I mean, we're doing this. We're in it. And then he finally stopped and he looked at me and he said, you you don't need to be so stoic. This is real. And I looked at him. I said, listen, a couple things. One, I know the money we've raised. I know the research we've been involved in. I know the stuff we've done. I know there's something out there and I know my chances are reasonable. And two, you said to me, we're going to do more testing to find out exactly what it is. So you know what? Until I know exactly what it is, I'm not going to worry. Well, I'm going to worry, but I'm not going to react because I need to know what level I need to react. I need to know what level I need to worry. I need to know what I need to do, what I need to be, how I need to feel truly, so I don't spend a lot of time overreacting or underreacting. It just, at that moment, I said, let me just get all the facts in line. Once I get them, then I'll break down or I'll celebrate or somewhere in between. And then the last thing I told him is, just so you know, I am not dying of ass cancer. I said, there's nothing sexy, nothing cool about dying of ass cancer, so this is not taking me out. So that's where I stand, so let's move forward. He goes, okay, good attitude, but just know, this is real. And I thought, I get it. So then it got really interesting. At the time, my wife had been going through some medical issues, some stuff. All of a sudden, at the end of 2020, just before I got diagnosed in January 2021, her blood pressure had spiked like crazy, and there was just some stuff going on. I don't want to get into all those details, but one time she had this little situation. We took her to urgent care. They thought maybe she was having a stroke. She wasn't, and then her anxiety went crazy, and there was just something going on that really couldn't be explained, but it turned into some real nervous tension and anxiety and just stuff. So with all that going on and her blood pressure where it was, and we were trying to get that all leveled out, and she's young. We're young. I think I was 52 at the time, 53, which to some people may not be young, but we're young. We don't have issues. We're very, very healthy. We're reasonably fit. She's really healthy. So it was kind of weird. So it ends up, I couldn't tell her. I just thought, man, if I tell her, hey dear, guess what? I have cancer and it could be really bad. I just didn't know. So I kind of had to keep it in until I found out more. And then I figured I would, share whatever it was. So good news. I went and did some testing. And I got it done very, very quickly. That's the good news. I didn't have to wait. I know other people have had situations like this where they say, I got to wait 2 weeks to get approved, whatever. So again, he got me in, I got my testing, I got the PET scan, and I went back and it was kind of the funniest meeting ever. Well, let me back up. So it was a few days. Here's where your mind goes. I was okay, like I said, but then I started thinking, what if? And I tried to control the what ifs. But I was literally just told I have potentially severe cancer. I was just told that potentially it could take me out. At best, I was going to go through some major treatment, chemo, radiation, all that stuff. And there was one moment in the shower where I broke down. And as much as I was trying to be cool and stoic, there was that one moment where I couldn't do it anymore. And it just, and then I just wrapped myself together and went, okay, I guess I needed that and I'm done. And then I started thinking, okay, what do I do? What do I do if? What do I plan for? So literally, I'm a financial advisor. I've been doing this many, many years. I started out selling life insurance. I went and I looked at my own financial plan. This is not a promotion to do financial planning, but do financial planning, get your insurance straight, get all that stuff straight. Because obviously in that moment, if things were really bad, I didn't have a moment to do it. So I went to the office. I'm like, oh, crap, I know what I have, but let me just double check, and looked at all my life insurance, looked at everything, made sure everything was in order. I was good. And then I started thinking, because at the time my twin daughters were 17, 16, something like that. And I started thinking, wow, what if I can't go to their weddings? What? So I thought, okay, I'm going to make some videos and I'm going to have my wife play them on their wedding night, play them on their 21st birthday. It's hard to talk about it. And you start thinking about all this stuff. And there's this one video, I think it was, I want to say Michael Keaton, I think I'm wrong. And He was actually diagnosed with something and he made a video, and I'll never forget this because he was teaching his son, I think, how to shake hands. And I remember him like in this video going, you got to get in there and grip it tight. And I just thought about that, like what messages, what lessons am I not going to be able to give my kids in those moments that they need them? And should I just go shoot a whole video series with dates and times and landmarks and stuff? So this is stuff that goes on. It's just kind of crazy. So then I could do the testing and get the test back. And this is the interesting meeting. I go back to the doctor, and I don't want to say he was disappointed, but I do joke about it. I think he was disappointed because it ends up that, again, a colonoscopy is an image. And the PET scans and the other stuff I did is more, I don't know, insightful, more whatever, in depth. And he came back, he said, I have good news. And it was stage 1. And it looked like it was fully contained and would be able to be surgically removed, potentially with no chemo or radiation. So, I mean, obviously talk about good news. But again, it was kind of funny because I think I even said to him, are you disappointed you don't get to do all that stuff? No, but he just had this look on his face like, oh man, I was ready to go to work and now I don't get to do anything. So it was one more test after that, another colonoscopy with another machine, and it was a lot of testing and a lot of stuff. And again, end result was that I had cancer, no question about it. It looked like it was contained, and then I had to go see a specialist and a surgeon. And you want to talk about having no dignity, no modesty, get what I had and go see a bunch of different doctors. I don't need to explain it to you. Just know that you will be, I want to say open to anything, but that's probably the wrong way to say it. So there's a lot of testing, let's say. So I saw the surgeon. The surgeon said, here's what it is, and gave me a couple options. I can go and pluck it out, but what I really want to do is the surgery will take out, like literally said, we're going to take out your rectum. I'm like, well, what does that mean? I'm picturing big, crazy times. So he explained it and said, we take it out, long surgery. I made the mistake of watching my surgery on a video. I found it was a medical journal thing where they were actually showing, it was a teaching one. And all I know is my intestines were on the outside of my body for a while, and it ended up being a 7.5-hour surgery. We'll get there. So he was kind of explaining it, and here's what happens. And then afterwards, what'll happen is we're going to put a bag on you. And I went, whoa, wait a minute. What's that mean? Technically, it's a colostomy bag. There's another name for it because mine was small intestine, but basically it's a bag that your intestine comes out of your body and goes into, and then your stuff goes into the bag. So that gives time for the wound towards the exit to heal. I'm trying to be as least graphic as I can. So basically, like any other wound, like any other repair, it needs to heal so nothing can pass through it, especially your waste. So I was going to get this bag, and he said, it's very, very likely you'll be able to get the bag off. And I went, okay, wait a minute. Now I have a decision to make. So you're telling me you can pluck it out and hope it's good, but way more chance of it coming back. Or you can do the surgery, which you feel is pretty solid that it'll never come back. But then I have to wear this bag with my intestine on the outside of my body that I do my business in, and I'm probably going to get it off. So I went back and forth. Now, remember, I still couldn't tell my wife based on what was going on. So very, very few people knew this. And I don't know if that was better or worse, but there were some people I had to tell, my business partner, my assistants, other people, but it was really kind of just me dealing with this at the time. And again, I kind of kept it that way. I never wanted to be running around like, hey, I'm cancer boy, feel sorry for me. I just was focused and going for it. So again, long story short, bunch of meetings, we decided to go through with the surgery. And then I was scheduling it. It was March of 2021. I don't remember the date because I don't want to. But I was trying to figure out a time to tell my wife, to tell my kids. And it was kind of one of these weird things where I'm like, well, it's early February or mid-February, whatever it was. Why tell them now and have them worry for so long? That's one thing that went through my head. And also, my daughters are young, and it's just, I guess I couldn't bring myself to tell them. And since I didn't tell anyone because I couldn't at first, I just kind of ran with it and was trying to find the right moment. Well, I don't know if I handled it correctly or not based on the circumstances. You judge if you want. I will just tell you, with everything going on, I literally ended up telling my wife about, I don't know, a week and a half before the surgery. And I said to her, dear, I have something to tell you. I have good news. And I guess that's just seemed like the thing to say. And my good news was that I wasn't going to die from cancer. And that's kind of how I presented it. And I said, I have some good news. I said, I have something going on, but it ends up I'm going to be fine. And then I explained it, and obviously she was upset, and she was upset at me for not telling her. But again, under the circumstances, it was a decision I had to make. And then a few days later, I presented it to my kids the same way. I said, I have good news for you guys. It's really bad news, but ultimately it's good news, and told them the same thing. And they were upset. But I said, I'm going in for the surgery. I'm going to be fine. It's a big surgery. Here's the plan. But they're going to take it all out, which for me was better. It was like, if they could treat it and hope it shrunk, okay, cool, hope it works. If they can just go in and get it out, that just sounded much better to me. And again, because of all the testing, they said it was fully contained. So it ended up going from this could take you out to this is really, really good. So I'm lucky, very, very lucky. And one of the messages is, you know why I'm lucky and it was so early? Because I did a routine colonoscopy. So first message in this is go do what you're supposed to do. You all know you need to do it, whatever age you are, get tested. It's better to find something out early than late. And the only way to find that out early is to do the routine checkups you're supposed to do. And I hear some people say, I don't want to know. You know what? I want to know, because I liked the words, you're not going to die from this, when they came out of my doctor's mouth. So going for my surgery, and I'm going to try to keep this short. I could talk on forever, but go to the surgery, roll up, sitting down, doing all my thing. And I was at UCLA, which is a teaching hospital. This is kind of a funny story. And I walk in there and they told me it was going to be somewhere between 5.5 and probably 7 hours. It ended up being just over 7 hours. I don't know why, didn't ever ask, but it was a little longer than expected. So a couple funny things happened. I was getting my IV put in, and there was a young student that was doing it with someone there that was monitoring her. And this is the way my day started. Remember, I'm about to go in for a 7-hour surgery potentially. So this kid, he's doing my IV and he's having a little trouble, and he gets down on one knee and he starts to stick the thing in, and it hurt a little bit, but he got it done. And he stands up and he kind of looked over at the doctor who was teaching, and right in front of me, she told him, well, you failed. And I went, whoa, wait a minute. I'm kind of dependent on this thing for the next 5 or 6 hours. What does that mean? She goes, no. It's fine. I can tell it's fine. And then she started to tell him, yeah, you never want to get down on a knee. You want to move the patient up. So she's teaching. But bottom line is I was about to go in for a major surgery, and the guy that stuck my IV in, which is giving me my medicine and blood, whatever I needed, she told him he failed. So that's my start. So then they roll me in and they give you some stuff to kind of, get you a little bit tired. And they bring me into the room, and it was the coolest, I don't know, maybe 1 second, maybe 20 seconds. I honestly don't know. So I come in this room and it just got very, very real. 2 very real moments in my life. Once I was a witness in a murder trial. One of my clients ended up murdering her husband. I was a witness in that trial. And I went up on the what do you call it? The witness stand, and looked around, and there's a jury and there's photographers. And I'm like, I'm a witness in a murder trial. That was crazy. This was crazy when they rolled me in and I realized what was going on. I was in a surgical room with way too many people. And all that meant to me was this is really, really a big deal. But there was the anesthesiologist, good guy. And he goes, okay, he hooked me up. And he looked at me, he said, we're going to put you out now. And he said, do you want to go straight out, or do you want to hallucinate a bit first? I thought, well, that's an easy one. I go, I want to hallucinate a bit first. Like, I had no clue what he was talking about. He goes, okay, I still to this day don't know what he did. Maybe he was I have no idea. All I know is I saw him do something. And like I said, it might have been a second, it might have been a minute. I don't know. But it was cool, and I've never done drugs, whatever. But you know what? After that moment, I'm like, I get it. Don't do drugs. But it was, whoa, and just stuff was going on. And all I remember is looking at him going, wow, this, and I think I got this out, and that was it. And then I woke up in the recovery room and just had that memory. So there you are in the recovery room now. And I'm like, okay, I'm awake. And I look down, I'm like, oh my God, I got this bag hanging off my stomach, and I got a catheter, and I got stuff and all this. And I first went, oh, whew, I survived. And I had no idea how long it was. Then they told me it was about 7.5 hours. So I said, I need to call my wife, let her know I'm okay, let her know I'm okay. And ends up, she'd already been notified, and now it was late. I woke her up and it scared her. And so me trying to protect her in the beginning, I ended up scaring her after the surgery by calling her, but I just needed to know that she knew that I was okay. So then I'm doing the surgery, hanging out there. After the surgery, hanging out there, and everything's going on. And then it got a little weird. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, but I had some complications with that one. And I had something called an ileus. My intestines didn't wake up. It became a big issue, really painful. I was supposed to be out of the hospital in about a day, day and a half. Ended up being 4 days. Finally got out. Wonderful. And then there goes my life now. And I have this bag on, and we're going to put a couple pictures up here of some stuff, and I'm wearing the bag and I'm going through all that, and life is very, very different, as you can imagine. But you know what? As I like to say, I was still on the correct side of the grass. So that's what was important. So I got the bag on, go through my days, get to about 2.5, 3 months, and then I go in to do the test. And I will tell you, this was the big day. This was the test to see if everything was healed up so I can get the bag off. This was the day where they told me whether or not the bag was going to be permanent. And I'm not even going to tell you about that procedure. Let's leave that one out. But needless to say, because my shirt is flat now, but needless to say, they told me everything was good. They were going to get the bag out. And I literally cried a little bit there. Not even cry a little bit, I cried a lot. That was a big day. And I know this is horrible, but the day I found out I got that bag off was actually a little better to me than the day I found out that I wasn't going to die from cancer, believe it or not. That was just rough. So anybody who happens to be watching this that has a bag, I get it. And I know you can get through it, and I would have gotten through it, but man, that was rough. So I get done with that, and then so I go in for the surgery and that, and then after that surgery, I thought that was going to be an easy one, maybe out the same day. Things went wrong again. I ended up having another, what they call ileus, which means my intestines didn't wake up. And then I wasn't allowed to eat for 5 days. I ended up getting something called an NG tube, which is horrible. Again, a whole nother story. I don't want this video to take forever, but just know it was a lot of bad experiences that I made it through. And then finally, after 6 or 7 days, my intestines woke up and I was able to go home. And it ended up being the day before Father's Day I got home. So I got home on a Saturday night. I think Father's Day was the next day. So I literally got to spend the day with my wife and my daughters the day after I finally got out of the hospital, which was kind of the ending to this stuff. And by then I'd already had the reports that the biopsies were back. Everything was clear. The margins were clear. They got it all. No reason to do chemo or radiation. I was very, very, very lucky. So probably a little too long, but I want to give you the message now. Here's the message. So that was quite the adventure, quite the eye-opening adventure. And as you can imagine, like I said, you start thinking about things you never thought you'd think about, and what I tell people now is when I look at the trees, they're just a little prettier, and I notice them when I'm outside and I look up. You just start seeing things and noticing things and appreciating things a little bit more, and maybe worry about things a little bit less. It gets to that point where you're like, why am I worrying about this? And I've always been pretty calm, and I try to keep things level. But the reality is, what's real, what's not, what's important, what's not in reality. What do you have to worry about? So here's my message. I like to tell people to rub their scar, and I know that may not make a lot of sense to you, but here's what I do now. Whenever something is going on, I literally, physically, and I'll show you, rub my scar. This is where my intestines were out. This is where a tube was in, and there's a bunch of other scars. But I will literally sometimes just rub my scar and just think, you know what? It could be worse. It could definitely be worse. So I just want to say to you, whether it's a physical scar like this one, whether it's a mental scar or something else, there's something in your life that happened that's probably worse than what's going on now that you got through. And maybe it's not worse. Maybe this is the worst thing ever, but still just remember the stuff you've been through, the stuff that you've survived, and know whatever you're dealing with now, you can probably get through it, and you probably will. So don't let it ruin your entire life as you go through this path, down this journey, get through this challenge. Just rub your scar a little bit and go, you know what? Things can get worse. So I'm going to make it a good day no matter what happens, and I'm going to get through this. And you know what? Maybe it'll be a bigger scar, but you're stronger moving forward because of that. So that's my story. That's my journey. That's most of it. There's some other little stuff that happened there, as you can imagine, but I just want to say thank you to the American Cancer Society and other organizations like it that raised money to do research, because somebody many years ago, with $1 that was raised at some fundraiser potentially, said, let's try this. And they said, let's cut someone open and pull their intestine out and see if we can make that work. So all this stuff comes from that. So remember, keep in mind, there's a lot of stuff you can do, but always give back a little bit. Always give to organizations that are good, give to charities that can help. And most importantly, hug your family. Don't miss opportunities to enjoy yourself. Don't let stress get in the way when it doesn't need to. Look up, look around, enjoy what's out there, rub your scar, have a great day. I'm glad I'm here to share my story, and I hope I can inspire you a little bit to be a happier, more complete person because of it. So if you have any questions, concerns, call me. I'd love to tell you more of the story. If you're interested, share your story. Type it in here in the comments, and have a wonderful day. And just know, I'm still on this side of the grass, living life. I'm going to continue doing that, rub my scar when I need to, and the rest of the time I just smile and enjoy it. Have a good one.